G'day friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Today I'm going to be doing a 5-year Hobonichi journaling catch-up video. I did not realize how long I hadn't been in the Hobonichi until I opened it and thought, I really missed a month. Like I was trying to convince myself, or delude myself rather, into thinking that I'm sure I opened it last week and wrote something. No, it's just been that long. Couldn't even tell you why that happened. I'm usually pretty good about staying, close to it, but this was a whole lot of time I missed. I don't think it's the end of the world either. I always like to tell people this because, I would say some, but a lot of people abandon it. A lot of people abandon a long-term journal, not just a 5-year, but like a long-term anything, when they feel like they've missed something, specifically dated journals like Hobonichis. If they feel like they've missed too much, they're like, ooh, get rid of the evidence. I don't think it's a huge problem. I do a page in 10 videos, that whole series, just so I can fill blank pages if I ever feel the need to fill blank pages, but also blank pages exist. If you're the type of person that doesn't like them, if you have this aversion to a blank page, then obviously go and find ways to fill it. But I also don't think it needs to be something that you abandon a journal over, unless abandoning it is what gets you to the next step. But I will say a lot of the time I notice people abandon it, take on a new journal and make the same mistakes and just keep abandoning them. So I don't want you to be one of those people. I don't know if that really helps anything. So I don't want to tell you that that's something good to do because I've never really seen it work out. But as far as the 5-year goes, it is a commitment. I will say that. This is my 3rd year in it, and it's filling up a lot. I have been a little bit less strict this year about how many photos I put in there, like photo stickers. So it's bulking up a little bit, so I should probably stop doing that, but I can't seem to help myself. I am going to finish the year out and then I do a yearly flip, which is also super fascinating to go and look back on because you can literally see each year get more and more full. But I'll do a yearly flip. I usually do a really nicely filmed multicam version of that, which takes a long time to do. And since I won't be here in the earliest part of 2022, I actually don't know when that's going to happen. So I'll try and do it as soon as I can. Because I don't want to write in the 4th year column until I've done that flip. Oh, pardon me. Breakfast is repeating. So yeah, I don't know. That's going to happen when that happens, but it's not like I can't catch up if I've been behind. This whole video is about that. Anyway, so if you've ever been one of those people that have wondered, what are you missing when I say I'm cutting the journaling out of this video because you're not missing anything, this is it. This is what you're missing. Just very monotonous footage from different angles of writing. I think you could make a good video out of it. I think if it was like ASMR, that might be a good video. Or you could do a video where you were doing it to, like a put yourself to sleep video, a kind of meditation video, put sounds of the beach or the rainforest, and then do a guided meditation about journaling and art supplies. I think that would be funny, but for a good reason, because it would definitely send me to sleep. But yeah, that's not today. Today it's just me in pip action, talking to you about yesterday when I went to the Academy Museum in LA. I went for a very specific purpose, so I'm going to talk about that very specific purpose. But before I get there, I will just say, if you're any kind of cinema lover, movie goer, you just like kind of movie props and memorabilia and stuff like that, or fascinating history, it is a really good museum to go to. I don't know what the price was because Steve bought the tickets, but I think it's relatively affordable. It's right in the middle of LA, downtown, somewhere. Oh goodness, my allergies are coming to get me too. I think I might have a deviated septum. This is such a different talking point, but could also be a hypochondriac. If we went there, it was super fun. There was a Miyazaki exhibit as well. So if you're into Studio Ghibli, that was fascinating to see. You weren't allowed to take any photos or videos of the exhibit, but it was really well done. And just to see some of the artwork, the background artwork specifically, was incredible. I take for granted that when I see it on the screen, I think, oh, it's all digital because it's presented digitally to me, but that's real paper and real paint. They're just layered together and shot in sequence. So it's just nuts when you realize that. I'd love to see a Disney one. I would really love it if they would do a full Disney one like that. But anyway, that was really good. The rest of it, there was lots of other stuff there, like scripts from Psycho and storyboards from Greece and, little bits and pieces from throughout time. Even some really old, 1800s type stuff, the zoetropes. You know those things? Spin around really quickly. So all of that's there, but for one very specific reason, Steve and I went, and that was to see the Wizard of Oz exhibit. So I have been obsessed with the Wizard of Oz ever since I was a little boy. Collect Wizard of Oz things. I had a Dorothy dress my grand made me when I was a little boy, and I used to live in it. sleep in it, play in it, do everything I could in it. I used to put a little tea towel on my head, my mom's tea towel, and pretend I had long hair as well, just to really feel my fantasy. And I'm talking young, like ever since as long as I can remember, I've had Wizard of Oz memories, and collect little Franklin Mint statuettes, even the little glass domed vignettes of different scenes from the movie. Had all the Barbie dolls. We went to Disney on Ice, not Disney on Ice, Wizard of Oz on Ice back early days, and I wanted some. I wanted some merchandise. I wanted everything, but there were these little earrings that I wanted, and my mum got them for me for who knows what reason, because I didn't have my ears pierced, but that didn't stop me from trying to shove them through my earlobes when I got home. I was like, oh, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. So I tried to put them through, did not work. I have like brooches and lapel pins, like I have gingham shirts. I just literally love The Wizard of Oz. I've always loved it. I love Judy Garland. I love the music, I love the costumes, I love the story, just loved it. Still do. Anyway, that's all the context you need to know for the fact that when we got there, I mean, I could sense the shoes. I knew they were in there. I knew the ruby slippers were somewhere in that building. It was mind-boggling to me that they were even in there, because they've just always been a figment of my imagination. I know they exist in real life, and I know in theory they're somewhere physically, but I did not ever think I would be close to them. Years ago, my friend had seen an exhibit in London, and I contacted him and I said, like, look, this is rare that I ever get so jealous to the point where I actually have to tell the person, because I might resent you for it. But like, you are living my dream, and it sucks to see. Like, I hate to see it. I said, I'm so jealous of you right now. How dare you go and see this blue gingham? He understood. Like, I wasn't actually that mad, but I did tell him I'm insanely jealous. Like, how long is this going to be there for? Maybe I should fly over and see it. And he said, oh, you'll see it one day. Don't worry. I'm sure you will. It's bound to happen. So I did see it, and I'm going to have to tell him that I saw it. But yeah, I got through the Oscars, the Golden Globes exhibit, and I came around a corner, and about 3 or 4 hallways down, I saw this column of glass with 2 little red things in there, and my heart dropped a beat, and I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I have to go through all these hallways, and Steve's not the type of person to skip a part of an exhibit, and he was also doing this really annoying thing where he was reading all the plaques, which, like, why? So I tried to go, and he said, I'm just acknowledging that I've seen you see them, so I know you know they're there. But we're just going to go through this, because we're not going to come back through this way. We'll go through this and we'll get there. And I was like, all right. I'm so impatient. And I was trying to enjoy all the things that I was seeing, because there was some really cool stuff in there. I was like, oh, wow, that's a fun storyboard from Greece, or like, cool. I do love it. I think it's fun, but I just knew they were in there, and I was getting closer and closer, and I was resisting the urge to look, because I wanted to have my moment. I'd like really built it up in myself to have this really exciting moment, and it was when I turned into the hallway and I could finally get there. There's this column, there was no one around them, like all the people that had just been taking photos had taken a step away. I walk up to it, and immediately I started crying, weeping. I'm not the type to weep. I don't think there's a problem with it. If I was the type, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But it took me by surprise a little bit. I thought, I know I'd be excited to see these, but I am crying right now. Like, what's wrong? It was giving very much Carrie Bradshaw at like a Manolo Blahnik sale, and she missed her last favorite pair of shoes. It was very much crying at shoes. So I just stood there, kind of unpacked it a little bit. There was a lot of memories flooding in. It was a lot of an emotional kind of trip down memory lane that, you know, I'll share a little bit with that about that with you. But ultimately, Steve had said, like, yeah, I kind of expected you would get a little bit upset, because why wouldn't you? This is so much a part of your life and so much a part of your childhood, and these are the real things. Like these things here, and specifically those shoes were used in like, and There's No Place Like Home, like the close-up scenes. Like, why wouldn't you have this reaction to them? And I thought, well, because I'm just not the type of person. Like, I don't really get awestruck at things, or there's only been a few times in my life where I've really been dumbfounded by something, but one of those was meeting the Grinch. I completely forgot my own name that day. I could not speak. I was so starstruck meeting the Grinch. But this was just one of those things where I thought, you know, I expected to be excited and overwhelmed, but to cry, like, to actually bring up those emotions was so nuts. Anyway, to get back to that, everything else in that exhibit was so much fun. The gingham dress is in there, so that was even more exciting. The witch's hat was in there. Crazy. It's so much smaller than I expected. They also had the lion, his mane and his ears. They had a Munchkin suit. They had concept art for Munchkin Land. They also had a script where it said "There's no place like home," like the Glinda. There's no. Couldn't believe it. Like, that's the script. That's why I have that. That's why I'm wearing this shirt, right? I mean, it was crazy. So I loved the entire thing. So I'm going to try and finish this before my allergies attack me for real. But seeing those shoes, immediately, one of the first memories that came up was a memory of my gran taking me to an op shop, because when she had made me the Dorothy dress that I absolutely adored, I wanted to complete the ensemble with the shoes. And so she took me to an op shop and she bought these little white, like little old granny high heels. And she spray painted them red when we got home, and she put red sequins, glued them all around them. And they were just, I mean, just my most prized possession in life. I thought they were drop dead ringer for the real thing, and I thought people were going to confuse them for being the real thing, and the pure joy I had putting them on my feet. Unfortunately, that joy was short-lived because they were very stiff due to the spray paint and the glue, and the sequins were very scratchy at the ankles, so it was very what do you say, like beauty knows no pain. It was a sacrificial experience to wear those shoes, but I did it with pride, because why wouldn't I? I'm a 5-year-old, 6-year-old little boy in Australia, fully decked out in Dorothy glam. Why wouldn't I just skip through the streets beaming with joy at my ruby slippers? Anyway, all of that to say, that was one of the memories that just came flooding into my memory immediately upon seeing those shoes, and it just highlighted something really, really special and really beautiful, and that The Wizard of Oz, as beautiful as a memory as that is for me, specifically relating to everything in childhood, like not only trying to pierce my own ears with that merchandise from Wizard of Oz on Ice, but like even just having my Glinda dress, or when I wanted point shoes because I wanted to be in the Lullaby League, or all the different memories. Those memories are beautiful because they were opportunities for my family to validate who I was. And this was a much deeper part of that experience that I didn't really know that I was feeling until I unpacked it a little bit. I mean, we're talking about a little gay boy from the 90s, early 90s, growing up in a place where, and even in a culture and like a socioeconomic, a demographic, even culturally and religiously, like even within my family, it probably shouldn't have been that easy for me to get validation as a child. But my family are such good examples of like a humble kind of, like a beautiful humility, this compassion and a sensitivity, even though they don't, it's not what you would think of as like, I would never describe my family as overly progressive or overly woke or even, you know, too caught up in anything they have to think too much about. They're very simple. They were always such good examples of, and my faith, you know, being acted out, like Christ's love is that's what I'll say. So it was interesting because, you know, I sometimes am reminded through other people, and it's so sad, I'm sometimes reminded of what happens when you're not validated that way, and some of the struggles that happen when specifically from your family, you're not encouraged to be who you are, or you're not allowed to, or it's a struggle to, or you constantly find pushback at that. My family were very realistic as well. They were never trying to sugarcoat anything. There was always this understanding that I even understood that the things I liked were different or were stereotypically feminine, and that I might find issues with that with other people who didn't agree with that. But within my own safe bubble at home, I was allowed to wear that dress, and my gran was going to make those heels for me because it was important for me. There didn't need to be any more reason than that. She wasn't going to say, well, that's for girls. She was just going to say, I'm glad you found something that you like and that you enjoy. And so, sorry if I get a little emotional about this. It's a very vulnerable thing to share, and I know it obviously touches on a huge, bigger story, which is my life story. But this is the early 90s, and this is how they were acting, and I don't even think they even knew that they should be doing that. It seems so progressive for those times, and it's so amazing to me that what they were really acting out of was this faith that they really did believe that, like, I wasn't made wrong, that is who I was, and that there was nothing wrong with that. And because the Wizard of Oz was always the thing that kind of challenged them into having to deal with all of that. I didn't know it at the time, but looking back on it now, it's so amazing that I even have positive memories around it. It could have been so different. It could have been the thing that I wanted more than anything, that was the reason why I was never validated. Do you know what I mean? So it just meant so much more. It's so much deeper. It's so much connected to, you know, validation in me and my childhood and how I was raised and how I felt about myself, how I was allowed to feel about myself, how I felt like others felt about me. Speaking of, my sister's calling, so I should probably wrap this up. That's why it was really special to me, and I just really enjoyed it, and I loved every minute of it. So if you do get a chance to go, and if you're into the Wizard of Oz or just cinema in general, it's a great exhibit at the Academy. I'm not sponsored, but it kind of changed me a lot for just the perspective that I got in that very instance. And I just want to thank my family. Even though, I mean, Gran's probably watching in heaven, but my mum won't watch this, but I was going to put it out there anyway. I think it's important to give credit where credit's due. I just thank them so much for validating who I was and how I was, and not making me feel ashamed for that, because I credit that for a lot of how I feel as an adult. And I think that's so important, and I'm just so thankful that I get to enjoy those thoughts and those memories rather than struggle with the alternative that might have been. So I'll leave it with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll see you again for another one. Yeah, just happy thoughts about ruby slippers forever. Now I've got to figure out, how am I going to steal them? All right, bye.